What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jobbers and Goons, and today we huddle together because we have to talk about a recent big push in Marvel Comics, right? There is a character getting an absolute reputation amp, a narrative boost, whatever you want to call it. Lady Death is absolutely ballin', with some of her recent shit being just casually one-shotting Immortal Hulk with a stare and a speech. But before we get into this, I need you guys to smash the like button. 300 plus likes would be absolutely amazing. If you love content like this, the Goon Rants playlist will drop today with videos such as this one on that playlist for whenever you like, when I really get passionate about a topic. Also, my homegirl, the Baja Baddie, will be joining the channel as a co-host on podcasts, as well as doing her own content on fictional-based things. Make sure to tune in starting next week for that to drop, and get ready to go over and subscribe to her channel. She will be like a channel partner of mine on my channel. She's funny as shit, and she's really good at what she does. And I don't think there's really any girls on the scene, so we might be starting history in this bitch. You know, we might be making some big monumental moves. But getting back to this, let's talk about Lady Death, right? Lady Death is a character that has had a mixed bag of narrative purpose in Marvel throughout the years. She's either seen as simply one of the pillars of the creation, which would be like eternity, infinity in them boys, oblivion and death. And then there's been other literal crossovers with DC, where she's pretty much shown to be an equal to someone like the Endless or Death of the Endless. This is important because when you're like one of the pillars of creation, there's still beings obviously above you in Marvel and outside of the construct of creation. Whereas in DC, the Endless would have significantly more value in the grand scheme in terms of cosmic powerhouses. Just talking about relative to how things function in verse for both Marvel and DC. So getting back to Lady Death, the two things we're going to talk about it in terms of what's happened with her recently comes from the new Thor and comes from the new Thanos. We'll touch on Thor first. This is an incident in which it's revealed the Utgard gods are simply not as simple as we took them to be. There's beings like eternity and the manipulation of the fate of eternity in the mix, as well as a being that all gods, no matter what kind of gods they are, must eventually bow to. And that is death. Now this is insane because Thor himself has been getting an incredible push in Marvel Comics as someone that's stupidly broken. We've seen them in the editor's office. We've seen a whole bunch of bullshit happening with this run in terms of wonky, crazy scaling. Then Death randomly gets this fucking alley-oop, where Death is pretty much above anything that's considered a god. Which is wild because this potentially implicates Death with being above even the Utgard, who, like I said, can read through Marvel Comics, tear them up, beyond stories, all that. They are what generates stories. Yet, I guess since they'd be considered gods, Death would still extend to them at some point. Now, on the other side of things, we have the Hulk incident in Thanos. Now, as you guys know, we did talk about Hulk already getting backhanded by Thanos. That shit wasn't cool because Immortal Hulk in his current run's having a crazy run, a crazy glow up, so to speak. Runs into Death here, swings on Death when Death isn't looking, and is like, yo, stop trying to kill the Purple Man. Like, let's beef. And Death turns around and is like, oh shit, it's the Immortal One. Gives him a speech on how Death is this shadow that the Immortal One forever wants but can never have. And it fucks Hulk up. Hulk is just one-shotted. And this was a very weird sequence, because on one end, it looks like Death is saying, I can't actually take you. But on the other end, Death just one-shots, mind hacks and breaks the Hulk. So it's weird as fuck, honestly, to analyze at that point. Given it's kind of a mixed bag with that statement alone from Lady Death. But the conclusion is this bitch is wildin'. So let's get to the part where I talk about my stance on this, right? This is interesting because I don't have a problem with it, really. I don't have a problem with Lady Death or Death in general being a little higher up in Marvel or getting that narrative bump that we're seeing right now. My reason for this is pretty much based on the landscape. You know, it's like a read and react system. Marvel, love or hate how they construct their cosmology. Certain things they do try to keep relatively in line. Sometimes it gets changed, sometimes it doesn't. But regardless, they have a general, we'll call it like a skeleton of the cosmology that they try to keep decently intact when they can. The issue with this is that there's so many characters constantly getting new narrative bumps in Marvel. There's characters like Ben Grimm, who swung on death, by the way. That's a conversation starter. Is Ben Grimm just outright more willpower and more resilient than Hulk? Because when he was confronted with death in the end of everything, he simply swung. It wasn't able to break him. Get in the comments and let me know what you think of that. But back to this. When you have constant players like Blue Marvel's gotten stronger. Beyonder changes every week. Loki changes every week. Thor's getting strong. You have all these beings that are constants in Marvel. When you have like a rough skeleton of what the cosmology is supposed to be like, you're still going to want those higher tiers to somewhat be in place. It just means everything else moves up. And by virtue, they move up as well. So they're not overlapped in the cosmology. And that, to me, is how I'm interpreting this Lady Death push. They're trying to make Death more relevant, show that Death is still a powerhouse, and simply everything has gotten stronger. So by virtue, Death moves up as well. And because of that, I don't really have an issue with this. Like, in my opinion, they're just trying to make it look like cosmology still has some of the bones we thought it was made on. Death is still an incredibly important figure, even to the most advanced of gods that we see, including elders. So, in my opinion, I don't have an issue with this. I think it's fine, and it makes sense. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe. It's been your boy Jobbers and Goons, and I will see y'all later. Peace.